The late-night shift had always been a sanctuary for the storyteller, a man who found a meditative peace in the hum of his sedan's engine. The blue-tinged glow of his dashboard navigation illuminated a city that breathed only in the periphery of streetlights. But at 1:15 a.m., the sanctuary collapsed. A delivery request pinged from a nameless Italian restaurant with a destination that defied logic. It was a solitary, pulsating pin on a nameless stretch of asphalt on the extreme outskirts of the county where the map grew featureless. The payout was the first warning sign, a sum nearly triple his usual rate, an amount that felt less like a tip and more like a bribe. He picked up the heavy brown paper bag, which radiated an unnatural, sweltering heat that seemed to seep through the passenger seat. As he began the trek away from the city, the orange lamps gave way to the oppressive blackness of rural backroads. At 1:42 a.m., the air grew thick and metallic, and the GPS began its slow descent into madness, the blue line flickering and spinning. The mechanical, emotionless voice commanded him to turn onto a gravel access road that didn't exist on any satellite imagery. The world outside felt like a simulation breaking down. The grass looked like static, and the wind hissed a low, rhythmic warning. When the GPS finally whispered, "You have arrived," he slammed on the brakes, staring out at a void where there was no sign of life. He tried to call the customer, but the line didn't ring. It simply opened into a hollow, echoing vacuum. Then the first message appeared on the screen, a cold command that stripped the air from his lungs. "Leave it outside." He replied, "There's no house here. Where should I leave it?" The response flashed back, "You're already at the door." He realized the darkness in front of the car wasn't empty. It was occupied by a presence so dense it swallowed the light. He grabbed the sweltering bag and stepped out into a cold that felt like a physical assault, the temperature dropping 30 degrees. He placed the bag on the asphalt, his breath hitching as he whispered "deliveries here" into the nothingness. A wet, sliding sound made him spin around. The bag was gone. It had simply ceased to exist in the space where he had placed it. In its stead, a heavy, triangular footprint pressed into the dusty road. Then another, then another. The footprints were moving toward him with a slow, deliberate weight, each indentation dripping with a dark, oily residue. He scrambled into the driver's seat as the car rocked violently, the front end dipping low as if a 1,000-pound weight stepped onto the hood. The metal began to buckle and groan, the steel crumpling like paper while a thick, translucent fog coated the glass. Two massive, splayed handprints, the size of a man's torso pressed against the windshield, the glass spider-webbing under the force. A lipless, wide impression of a mouth bloomed in the condensation. The engine finally roared to life, a scream of machinery. He slammed the car into reverse, tires shrieking against the gravel as he flew backward into the dark. When he finally pulled into a lit gas station, the true horror revealed itself. The hood of his car was permanently mangled. His phone chimed one last time with a notification. "Thank you. I was starving. I'll see you at your house for the next one." He looked at the oily residue. The handprints weren't outside anymore. They were manifesting on the inside of the glass. Every night at 1:15 a.m., his phone vibrated with a ghost notification. The destination pin always moving closer to his own front door. He realized that the door wasn't a location on a map, but the fragile barrier of his own sanity which had finally swung wide open. The storyteller didn't wait to see where the footprints would lead. The moment the second imprint pressed into the dust, forming right in front of him, without anything visible making it, his body reacted before his mind could catch up. He yanked open the car door, jumped inside, and slammed it shut, locking it immediately. His breathing was heavy, uneven, his eyes fixed on the road ahead where the headlights still cut through the darkness. For a few seconds, nothing else happened. The footprints stopped. The road looked empty again, but the feeling didn't go away. That same pressure in the air, that same sense of something being there without being seen, it lingered. He didn't waste another second. He put the car into drive and sped away from that place, tires briefly screeching against the pavement before gripping the road. He didn't look back, not once. The entire drive back toward the city felt wrong. The road seemed longer than it had before, the darkness thicker, like it was stretching around him. He kept glancing at the mirrors, half expecting to see something following him, but there was nothing, no headlights. No movement, just empty road. Eventually, the familiar glow of streetlights appeared again in the distance, and with it came a small sense of relief. He didn't slow down until he reached a more populated area. Even then, his hands were still shaking slightly on the steering wheel. He pulled into a gas station, one of the few still open at that hour, and parked under the bright lights. For a moment, he just sat there, staring ahead, trying to calm himself down. "You're fine," he muttered under his breath. "Just a weird delivery." That's it. He grabbed a bottle of water from inside the store, splashed some on his face in the restroom, and stood there for a minute, trying to shake off the lingering fear. Eventually, he convinced himself it was over. Just a strange experience. Nothing more. He returned to the car, sat down, and stared at his phone. He considered ending his shift right there, going home, forgetting the whole thing. But then he looked at his earnings for the night. One more delivery wouldn't hurt. Just one more, then he'd call it. Almost as if the app had been waiting for him to decide, a new order popped up instantly. The notification sound made him flinch slightly. He looked down at the screen. The payout was high again, higher than usual. The pickup location was only a few minutes away, the drop-off location. His stomach tightened. It was the same area, the same stretch of road, the same place he had just left. He stared at the screen for several seconds, his thumb hovering over the accept button. "No," he whispered. "Not going back there." But then he noticed something strange. The order details looked identical. Same price, same distance, same instructions. Even the customer name was the same. It was like the previous delivery had reset. His heart began to pound again. There was no way this was normal. It had to be a glitch. That was the only explanation, a system error. The app repeating the same order. He hesitated for a moment longer, then accepted it. He told himself it was just to confirm, just to see if it was real. If it was the same thing again, he'd cancel. He picked up the order from the restaurant without issue. The staff didn't say anything unusual. It felt exactly the same as before. Too similar, as if nothing had changed. When he got back into his car and checked the route, it was the same path, every turn, every street, exactly the same. A cold feeling settled in his chest. He sat there for a moment, staring at the screen. Then slowly, he started driving. The road felt different this time, not unfamiliar, but heavier, like he already knew what was waiting at the end. As he left the city behind again, the streetlights fading one by one, the same sense of isolation returned. The GPS flickered once, then again recalculating. Even though he hadn't made a mistake, his grip tightened on the steering wheel. "It's just a glitch," he said quietly, trying to convince himself. But deep down, he knew it wasn't. The time on the dashboard read 2:07 a.m., the same time he had noticed earlier. During the first delivery, his eyes narrowed slightly. That wasn't possible. He had spent at least 20 minutes at the gas station. The time should have moved forward, but it hadn't. It was exactly the same. A wave of unease washed over him. He reached for his phone, checking the clock there. 2:07 a.m. The seconds weren't moving. The time was frozen. His breathing became shallow. "Okay, something's wrong," he whispered. But there was no one to hear him. The road stretched ahead, unchanged, leading him back to the same place. When the GPS finally announced that he had arrived, he felt a sense of dread unlike anything before. He slowed the car and stopped at the exact same spot, the same empty road, the same darkness, the same silence. Nothing had changed. It was like he had never left. He didn't get out this time. He didn't move. He just sat there, staring ahead. Then his phone buzzed, a message. "You forgot something." His heart skipped. "No, I didn't," he said out loud, his voice barely steady. Another message appeared. "Check your back seat." Every muscle in his body tensed, slowly, hesitantly. He looked up at the rearview mirror. At first, it looked empty, just the dark outline of the seats. But then, something shifted. A shape, sitting in the back seat, perfectly still, watching him. The storyteller didn't move for several seconds after seeing the shape in the rearview mirror. His entire body locked up, his breathing shallow, his hands frozen on the steering wheel as his eyes stayed fixed on the reflection. At first, he tried to convince himself it was just a trick of the light, the way shadows stretch and bend in the dark. But the longer he stared, the clearer it became. The shape wasn't random, it had form. It was sitting upright in the center of the back seat. Slowly, he blinked once, then adjusted the mirror slightly, hoping the angle would break the illusion. It didn't. The figure remained. Still, watching, his heart began to pound harder, louder, echoing in his ears. No, that's not possible, he whispered under his breath. Gathering what little courage he had, he slowly turned his head just enough to glance over his shoulder. The movement felt impossibly heavy. When his eyes finally landed on the back seat, it was empty, completely empty, no figure. No shadow, nothing. The relief hit him instantly, but it didn't last. Because the moment he snapped his gaze back to the rearview mirror, the figure was still there. It wasn't something he could see normally, it only existed in the reflection. A cold wave of terror spread through his entire body. "Don't look," he muttered. "Just don't look." The silence around him grew heavier, pressing in from all sides. Then the phone buzzed again. He flinched at the sound, his eyes darting down to the screen. Another message. "Why did you come back?" "I didn't," he whispered. Another message appeared almost instantly. "You were told to leave it." "I did leave it," he said out loud. The screen stayed still for a few seconds. Then a new message. Not all of it. Slowly, very slowly. He lowered his gaze toward the passenger seat beside him, the empty seat. But then he noticed it. A small paper bag sitting there, exactly like the one from the delivery. His heart stopped. He had taken the entire order out of the car. He remembered it clearly, and yet, here it was. Inside his car, untouched, the air inside the car felt colder suddenly. His hands began to shake as he reached toward the bag, his movements slow and hesitant. Inside, the food was still there, but the color seemed off, darker, muted, and then he noticed a faint smell, sour, decayed. "Wrong. I'm done," he said out loud. "I'm leaving." He threw the car into drive and slammed his foot on the gas. The engine roared as the car sped forward. But after a few seconds, something felt off. The road ahead didn't change. The same trees, the same shadows. It was like he wasn't moving at all. Panic surged through him. No. Then, from the back seat, came a sound. Soft, almost unnoticeable at first, like fabric shifting. His entire body went rigid. He looked up at the rearview mirror again. The figure was closer now, leaning forward slightly. Its head tilted at an unnatural angle. A low, quiet whisper filled the car, not from the phone. From inside, right behind him. "You shouldn't have come back." The whisper came again, closer this time. "Now you have to finish it." The car suddenly jerked violently. The engine cut out. The headlights flickered, then died completely. Darkness swallowed everything. Total silence. No engine, no wind, just darkness. The storyteller sat frozen, his eyes slowly adjusting to the pitch-black surroundings. Then something moved beside him. Not in the mirror this time, not a reflection. Something real. Something shifting in the passenger seat, right next to him. The storyteller didn't breathe. He couldn't. Every instinct in his body told him not to move, not to react, or even acknowledge the shift. The darkness inside the car was absolute now, the engine dead, the headlights gone, leaving him surrounded by a silence so heavy it felt physical. But he knew what he felt. Something had moved in the passenger seat, not imagined. Not a reflection? Something real. Slowly, painfully slowly. His eyes turned toward the right, trying to make sense of the shape sitting beside him. At first, there was nothing but darkness. Then, as his vision adjusted just slightly, he saw it, a silhouette, sitting upright in the passenger seat, not fully visible, not detailed. Just a darker shape within the darkness. And it was facing him. His heart began to pound violently, each beat echoing in his ears. "Don't move," he whispered to himself, his voice barely a sound. The shape didn't move. It didn't react. It just sat there, watching. The air inside the car felt impossibly cold now, like all warmth had been drained from it. His mind raced, trying to find a way out, but nothing made sense. The road had trapped him. The order had brought him back, and now, whatever had been waiting there, was no longer outside. It was inside with him. Then the phone buzzed again. The sudden sound made him flinch, the faint glow lighting up his face just enough to break the darkness. Another message. Finish the delivery. His throat tightened. No, he whispered. I already did, the response came instantly. Not here. His stomach dropped. Slowly, he lifted his gaze toward the windshield. The darkness outside the car seemed different now. Not empty. It felt like something was there. Something he couldn't fully see. Then, without warning, the headlights flickered back on. Just for a second, a single flash of light, but it was enough. In that brief moment, he saw it, a structure, directly in front of the car, where there had been nothing before. A door, just a door. Standing alone in the middle of the road, old, worn, slightly open. The light cut out again, plunging everything back into darkness. The storyteller's entire body went rigid. That wasn't there before. The phone buzzed again. You're at the door, the exact same message from before, but now they made sense. The thing that had been waiting, the thing that had taken the food, it hadn't been on the road. It had been behind that door. The bag on the passenger seat shifted slightly. The storyteller's eyes snapped toward it. He hadn't touched it, but it moved. A low whisper filled the car again, closer this time, right beside his ear. Take it to the door. His entire body tensed. No, he said immediately, louder this time, his voice shaking. I'm not getting out. Silence followed, then, slowly, the shape in the passenger seat moved, turning toward him more directly. The storyteller felt something brush lightly against his arm. Cold, unnatural, he jerked away instinctively. Take it, the whisper repeated, softer. But more demanding, his breathing became rapid. His mind raced. He knew one thing for certain. This wouldn't stop until he did what it wanted. It wasn't going to let him leave. His hands shook as he slowly reached for the bag. Every movement felt wrong, like a decision he couldn't undo. He grabbed the bag, holding it tightly, the moment he touched it. The car door unlocked with a loud click. The storyteller froze. The silence returned, waiting. He stared at the door handle. Then, slowly, he reached for it. Just finish it, he whispered to himself, trying to stay grounded, trying not to panic. The moment he opened the door, the cold air rushed in again. The darkness outside felt alive now, watching him. He stepped out, the bag clutched tightly in his hand, his eyes fixed on the road ahead, and there it was. The door, each step toward it felt heavier than the last. The ground beneath his feet didn't sound right. Too quiet, too soft. He stopped a few feet away from the door, his heart pounding. The gap in the door revealed nothing but darkness inside. His hands trembled as he slowly raised the bag. Delivery, he whispered weakly. No response, just silence. Then the door creaked open slightly more, on its own, inviting him closer. The whisper came from inside. Bring it inside. The storyteller shook his head violently. No, I'm not going in there. The darkness inside seemed to shift. Then, slowly, something extended outward. Not fully visible, just a shape, reaching, waiting. The storyteller's breath hitched. He couldn't see it clearly, but he knew. Something was there, waiting to take the bag. He stepped forward just enough, and dropped it. The bag landed just inside the doorway. For a second, nothing happened, then it was gone. Pulled into the darkness instantly. No sound, no movement, just gone. The door slammed shut, loud, violent. The force of it made him stumble backward, nearly falling. The ground beneath him felt normal again, solid, real. The cold air lifted slightly, the pressure faded. The storyteller stood there, breathing heavily, staring at the door. Slowly, it began to disappear, fading into the darkness, until there was nothing left, just the empty road again. The headlights flickered back on, the car engine roared to life. The storyteller didn't hesitate. He ran back to the car, jumped inside, and locked the doors immediately. His hands shook as he gripped the wheel. He didn't look back, he didn't check the mirrors, he just drove, and this time, the road changed, the trees passed, the distance closed. The city lights appeared ahead. He was free. When he finally reached home, he sat there in silence for a long time, trying to process what had just happened. Eventually, his phone buzzed one last time. He looked down slowly. The delivery app showed the completed order. Payment received, but underneath it, there was one final message. "Thank you for coming back." The storyteller stared at the screen, his stomach tightening as a final realization settled in. It hadn't been a mistake. It hadn't been a glitch. It had been waiting for him to return, and somewhere out there on that empty road, the next order was already waiting. Subscribe to Tales of the Dark, where every story gives you a nightmare. He didn't sleep that night. Even after getting home, locking every door, checking every window twice, something felt wrong. The silence inside his house wasn't normal, it felt identical to that. Road, heavy, pressing, waiting. He sat on the edge of his bed, phone still in his hand, staring at that final message. "Thank you for coming back." It didn't feel like a confirmation. It felt like a reminder. He tried to convince himself it was over, that whatever happened stayed out there, on that road, with that door. But as he placed his phone down, the screen flickered once, just once. Then it turned back on by itself. The delivery app was open again. A new order appeared. Same high payout, same distance. Same empty road. His chest tightened instantly. "No," he whispered. "I'm done." He closed the app, locked the phone, set it face down, but seconds later, it buzzed again, another notification. Same order, same location. His breathing became shallow. "This isn't real," he muttered. He turned the phone off completely this time. The screen went black. Silence returned for a moment. Everything felt normal again. Then, a sound. From the kitchen, soft, like something being placed gently on the counter, his entire body froze. Slowly, he stood up, his footsteps quiet as he moved toward the doorway. The kitchen lights were off. Only faint moonlight coming through the window. But on the counter, something was there. A small paper bag, the same one. His heart dropped. "No," he whispered. "I delivered it. I left it." He stepped closer, his hands shaking slightly. The bag was real, solid, exactly like before. And slowly, it moved, just slightly, as if something inside had shifted. The same smell filled the air again. Sour, rotting. His phone buzzed from the other room. Loud this time, aggressive. He didn't want to check it, but something forced him to. He walked back slowly, picked it up, and turned it on. The app was open again. A message appeared. "You took something?" "I didn't take anything," he said out loud. The response came instantly. "You brought it back." His eyes slowly turned toward the kitchen, toward the bag. The realization hit him. He hadn't completed the delivery, not fully. Something had stayed with him. Something had followed him home. And now, it wanted to be returned. The phone buzzed again. "Finish it." His breathing became uneven. "No, I'm not going back there," he said. Silence followed, then the lights in his house flickered once, twice, then went out completely. Darkness swallowed everything. The same kind of darkness from the road, thick, unnatural. And then, from somewhere inside the house, came a slow dragging sound, moving across the floor, getting closer. He backed away instinctively, his hand reaching for the wall behind him. "Stop," he whispered. The dragging sound didn't stop. Then, something appeared at the end of the hallway. A shape, tall, thin, head tilted at that same unnatural angle. Standing in the darkness, watching him, his body locked in place. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The whisper came again. This time, not from the phone, not from outside, from the thing itself. "Take it back." He knew one thing. This wouldn't stop, not here, not ever, unless he finished it. Slowly, he turned toward the kitchen again. The moment he picked it up, the front door unlocked by itself, a loud click echoing through the house. He walked toward the door, every step heavy. The moment he opened it, the world outside wasn't his neighborhood anymore. It was the same road, the same darkness, the same place. The car was there, parked exactly like before. Engine off, waiting. He didn't question it, didn't hesitate. He got inside, placed the bag beside him, and started the engine. The GPS turned on automatically. Same route, same destination. And as he began driving into the darkness again, the rearview mirror shifted slightly on its own, revealing something sitting in the back seat, watching, waiting, subscribed to Tales of the Dark, where every story gives you a nightmare. The car moved slowly forward, the headlights piercing the thick darkness of the road. Every sound of the tires on asphalt echoed unnaturally, like it was amplified in the heavy night air. The bag beside him seemed heavier now, as if it held more than just food. He glanced at the rearview mirror. The figure was still there, sitting perfectly upright, head tilted unnaturally, eyes reflecting the dim light of the dashboard, watching, waiting. The GPS voice cut through the silence. You have arrived, but there was nothing ahead. No door, no building. Just trees, darkness, and the faint outline of fog creeping along the road. His hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. Every instinct screamed at him to turn around, to escape. The bag shifted slightly. A cold wind seemed to blow from inside the car, though all windows were up. The whisper returned, soft and insistent. Finish it, or stay. His heart pounded violently. The road ahead began to warp subtly. Trees elongated, shadows stretched unnaturally. Another message appeared on the phone. Do not stop. It wasn't the app. A low, scraping sound emerged from the back seat. The shape had moved closer. The headlights flickered. For a split second, he saw the same door from the previous deliveries. Standing alone in the middle of the road, his breathing became uneven, almost choking. The bag pulsed slightly, like a heartbeat. He reached for the bag instinctively. The whisper grew louder. Bring it to the door. Bring it to the door. Suddenly, the engine stalled. The car was dead, headlights out again. Darkness swallowing everything. A movement in the back seat drew his eyes. The shadow leaned forward slightly, an almost human shape. The whisper became clearer, more demanding. Step outside. Bring it, complete it. The bag slid slowly toward the passenger door on its own, as if it had weight beyond reason. He opened the door slowly. The cold night air hit him like a wall. Fog rolled in thickly. The road outside had changed completely. Just endless fog, dark road, and the faint outline of that same door ahead. He stepped out of the car with the bag. Every step felt like moving through water. His breath came out in short bursts. The shadow moved again, emerging from the fog. Its head tilted, watching, waiting. The door ahead creaked slowly, almost invitingly. He could see the darkness inside, endless and consuming. He placed the bag down carefully at the foot of the door. The moment it touched the ground, the shadow flinched. The door slowly began to close. The whisper softened, fading into the night. Thank you. He stepped back. The fog began to dissipate, the road returning to normal. His car sat behind him, engine running. He climbed back into the car, his hands shaking violently as he gripped the wheel. He just drove forward. The fog thinned further. He recognized streetlights, familiar turns. Relief surged through him, but the lingering fear remained. He parked in front of his house. The bag was gone. No trace of it inside the car. Inside, the house seemed normal. But the memory of that door, the whisper, the shadow, it felt alive in his mind. He checked his phone. The timestamp on the last delivery. It hadn't moved. It was still 2:07 a.m. He finally sat down at his computer. He opened the app, but only that message appeared. Thank you for coming back. Even as morning approached, he couldn't shake the feeling that eyes were on him, watching from shadows. But when he returned inside, the faintest whisper brushed against his ear. You'll be back. The phone buzzed. The message appeared slowly. Next order. Waiting.